The alarm bells rang through the crystal halls of the Galactic Peacekeeping Council. Council member Veltara Slong, thin fingers moved quickly over the glowing control panel. Her translucent skin showed the blue veins beneath as stress filled her body. The emergency signal was getting stronger by the minute. "Show me the message," she said to her assistant. A small floating creature with 6 eyes. The hologram appeared in the center of the room. A tall, delicate being made of what looked like living crystal stood before them. His body caught the light and threw it back in beautiful colors. But his face showed pure terror. "Came Elder Zixmore, the Zenthari people on Kepler 44 to be," the crystal being said. His voice shook like breaking glass. "We need help. The Krex Empire has come to our world. They want to make us slaves. We cannot fight them. Our bodies are too weak. Please send peacekeepers. Send anyone who can talk to them and make them leave us alone." The message ended and the room fell silent. Veltara had seen many calls for help, but this one made her feel cold inside. The Zenthari were known across the galaxy as the most peaceful species alive. They spent their time making art and music. They had never hurt anyone. The Krex Empire was different. They were warriors who loved to fight. They took over worlds and made the people there work for them until they died. They had powerful ships and weapons that could destroy entire cities. "What peacekeeping forces do we have available?" Veltara asked her assistant. The small creature's 6 eyes moved in different directions as it checked the records. "The vegan Peace Corps is helping with the mining dispute on Rigel 7. The Andromeda negotiators are dealing with the trade war near the Galactic Rim. The Tau Ceti mediators are handling the religious conflict on New Geneva." Veltara felt her heart sink. All the usual peacekeepers were busy with other problems. She looked at the empty deployment board and realized they had almost no one left to send. "What about the backup teams?" she asked. "The Centauri diplomatic wing has only 3 ships. The Krex have 50 warships around Kepler 442b. The Altair counselors are not trained for military threats." Veltara stood up and walked to the big window that looked out into space. Thousands of stars twinkled in the darkness. Each one had worlds with people who might need help someday. The Peacekeeping Council was supposed to protect them all. But what could they do when the bad guys had bigger guns? "There must be something," she said. "Check the extended registry. Look for any species that has offered to help with peacekeeping missions." Her assistant's eyes spun as it searched through the computer files. There are several species that have registered for emergency assistance protocols. The Beetlejuice Harmony Group, the Wolf 359 Mediation Circle, and the Humans from Earth. Humans. Veltara had never heard of them. "Tell me about these humans. They are a new species. First contact was made 6 months ago. They submitted their registration forms last week. Their homeworld is listed as Earth in the Sol System. Classification says they are willing to assist with peacekeeping operations." Veltara felt a small spark of hope. "What do we know about their capabilities?" The assistant's eyes dimmed as it searched for more information. "Very little. Their forms say they have space travel and weapons technology. They claim experience with conflict resolution. No previous missions on record. It was not much to go on. But Veltara was running out of options. The Zenthari needed help now, and these humans were the only ones available. Send them the distress call, she decided. Yes. Include all the information we have about the Zenthari and the Krex threat. "Are you sure?" her assistant asked. "We know nothing about how they handle peacekeeping operations." "We have no choice," Veltara said. "The Zenthari are peaceful people who never hurt anyone. Surely any species willing to help with peacekeeping will understand that." Far across the galaxy, on a human ship called the UCS Valiant, Captain Jake Morrison was drinking his morning coffee when the communication alert sounded. He was a tall man with short brown hair and calm blue eyes. His uniform was neat and clean, but his hands showed the calluses of someone who had worked with tools and weapons his whole life. "Captain," said Lieutenant Lisa Harper from the bridge. She was a young woman with red hair tied back in a tight ponytail. Her green eyes were sharp and always watching for danger. "We're receiving a priority transmission from something called the Galactic Peacekeeping Council." Morrison set down his coffee cup and walked to the bridge. The crew was already at their stations. Harper sat at the weapons console, her fingers dancing over the controls as she checked their systems. Sergeant Danny Rodriguez stood near the tactical display, his dark eyes studying the star charts. Dr. Amy Collins looked up from her medical station, where she had been reading about alien biology. "Put it on the main screen," Morrison said. The hologram of Elder Zixmore appeared before them. The crystal being looked even more frightened than before. Behind him, they could see beautiful spire buildings that sparkled in the light of twin suns. But smoke was rising from some of the structures. "To any peacekeeping forces receiving this message," Elder Zixmore said, "my people are the Zenthari of Kepler 44-B. We are under attack by the Krex Empire. They have surrounded our world with warships. Their soldiers are landing in our cities. We cannot fight them. We are not made for war. Please, we need help. Send negotiators. Send diplomats. Send anyone who can talk to the Krex and convince them to leave us alone." The message showed images of the invasion. Krex soldiers in black armor were marching through crystal cities. They carried big guns and moved like they owned the place. The Zenthari people ran from them, their crystal bodies reflecting the light from burning buildings. "We do not ask you to fight," Elder Zixmore continued. "We only ask you to help us find peace. The Krex must listen to reason. All intelligent beings can be reasoned with. Please hurry. They are destroying our libraries and art galleries. They are taking our people away in chains." The message ended, and the bridge fell quiet. Morrison looked at his crew. They were all thinking the same thing. "Well," Rodriguez said finally, "it's like we got ourselves a peacekeeping mission." "Poor bastards," Harper said, studying the tactical data. 50 Krex warships against a bunch of crystal artists who never heard a fly." Dr. Collins was reading through the cultural information about the Zenthari. "It says here they communicate through light patterns and music. Their entire society is based on creating beautiful things. They don't even have a word for war in their language."
Oh.
Morrison nodded. He had seen situations like this before, back on Earth. Strong bullies picking on weak victims who could not fight back. It made his blood boil. Set course for Kepler 44-B. He ordered, "Maximum speed," Sir Harper said. "Should I prep the weapon systems?" "Of course," Morrison replied. "We're going on a peacekeeping mission." Dr. Collins looked confused. "But they specifically asked for negotiators and diplomats." Morrison smiled, but his eyes stayed cold. "Doctor, we are negotiators. We're just going to negotiate with superior firepower." Rodriguez grinned as he started checking their ammunition supplies. "I love diplomatic missions." Harper was already running weapons diagnostics. "All systems green, Captain. We'll be ready to keep the peace real good." The UCS Valiant turned toward the Kepler system and jumped into hyperspace. Behind them, the Galactic Peacekeeping Council waited for news, hoping these mysterious humans could somehow convince the Krex to leave through peaceful talks. They had no idea what kind of peacekeepers they had just sent to save the Zenthari. The UCS Valiant dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. Captain Morrison stood on the bridge looking at the main screen. What he saw made his jaw clench tight. The beautiful blue and green world of the Zenthari was surrounded by dark Krex warships. They hung in space like hungry wolves around a sheep. Jesus. Harper whispered from her weapons station. "Look at the size of those things." The Krex ships were massive and ugly. They looked like they were built for one thing, only destroying other ships and planets. Black metal spikes stuck out from their hulls. Red lights blinked along their sides like angry eyes. 52 ships, Rodriguez reported from the tactical station. All armed with heavy weapons. They got this planet locked down tight. Dr. Collins was studying her scanner readings. "I'm picking up explosions on the planet's surface. The Krex are bombing the cities." Morrison felt anger building in his chest. He had seen bullies before, but this was worse than anything back on Earth. These Krex were attacking people who could not even fight back. "Take us in closer," he ordered. "But keep us hidden behind that moon." The Valiant moved carefully through space, staying out of sight. As they got closer to the planet, the crew could see the damage more clearly. Beautiful crystal cities that had once sparkled like jewels were now dark and smoking. Krex landing ships were dropping soldiers into the streets. "Incoming transmission," Harper said. "It's from the planet's surface." "Put it through," Morrison replied. Elder Zixmore appeared on the screen again. But now he looked even worse than before. His crystal body had cracks in it, and some of his light had gone dim. Behind him, other Xanthari were crying. Their musical voices made sounds like breaking wind chimes. "Thank the stars," Elder Zixmore said when he saw the humans. "You received our call for help. I am so relieved to see that peaceful beings have come to aid us." Morrison looked at the elder's cracked body and the fear in his eyes. "We're here to help, sir. What's the situation down there?" "The correct soldiers landed 3 hours ago. They are destroying our museums and libraries. They say our art is worthless. They're taking our people away to work in their mines. We tried to talk to them, but they just laugh at us." Dr. Collins leaned forward. "Are your people hurt? Do you need medical help?" "Many are injured," Elder Zixmore said. "The Krex weapons break our crystal bodies easily, but we do not ask you to fight them. Violence only creates more violence. Surely you can reason with them. All thinking beings can be made to understand peace." Rodriguez looked at Morrison and raised an eyebrow. Captain held up a hand to keep him quiet. To Elder Zixmore, Morrison said carefully, "We want to help your people, but these Krex don't sound like they want to talk." "But you are peacekeepers," Elder Zixmore replied. "That means you know how to make peace with words? Yes, you can negotiate with them. No, you can show them that taking our world will only bring sadness to everyone." Harper turned in her chair and looked at Morrison. Her eyes were asking the same question Rodriguez had asked with his look. The captain shook his head slightly. "Not yet. We'll do our best to resolve this situation peacefully," Morrison said. It was not exactly a lie. He did want peace. He just had different ideas about how to get it. "Oh, thank you," Elder Zixmore said. His crystal body glowed a little brighter. "I knew that civilized beings would understand. The Krex commander is named Thakaron. His ship is the largest one in orbit. Perhaps you could invite him to a diplomatic meeting." "We'll contact him right away," Morrison promised. "In the meantime, get your people to safe places. Stay away from the Krex soldiers until we can sort this out." The transmission ended. Morrison turned to look at his crew. They were all waiting for orders. Well, Captain Rodriguez said with a grin, "How are we going to negotiate with these Krex?" "The same way we always negotiate with bullies," Morrison replied. "We're going to explain to them why picking on innocent people is a bad idea." Harper was already running weapons checks. "All systems ready, sir. We can explain it real clearly to them." Dr. Collins was reading more about Xanthari biology on her scanner. "These people are completely defenseless. Their bodies are made of living crystal. They're beautiful, but they break easily. They literally cannot hurt anyone even if they wanted." Till Morrison nodded. The Xanthari reminded him of the artists and musicians he had known back on Earth. Good people who just wanted to create beautiful things and live in peace. They did not deserve to be terrorized by space pirates. "Open a channel to the Krex flagship," he ordered. Harper worked her controls. "Channel open, sir." A new face appeared on the screen. This one was very different from Elder Zixmore. "Commander." Thakaron looked like he was built for war. His skin was thick and gray like armor. His eyes were small and cruel. Scars covered his face and neck. When he smiled, he showed teeth like broken glass. "What do you want, little ship?" Thakaron growled. "Have you come to surrender this world to the Krex Empire?" "I'm Captain Jake Morrison of the Human Peacekeeping Force," Morrison said in a calm voice. "I'm here to discuss the situation on Kepler 4 Forteby." Thakaron laughed. It was an ugly sound like metal scraping against stone. "Peacekeeping Force? I have never heard of humans. Are you another weak species come to beg for mercy?" "We're here too. Protect the Xanthari people," Morrison replied. "They're peaceful beings who pose no threat to anyone." "Exactly," Thakaron said. "They are weak. Weakness must be crushed. The strong take what they want from the weak. This is the way of the universe." Rodriguez muttered something under his breath that would have made his mother wash his mouth out. "With soap, the Xanthari have done nothing to you," Morrison continued. "They don't even have weapons, which makes them perfect slaves," Thakaron replied. "They will work in our mines until they die. Their pretty crystal cities will be melted down for raw materials. This world will serve the Krex Empire." Dr. Collins made an angry sound. Even she was getting mad, and she usually tried to see that good in everyone. "What if we could offer you something better than slaves?" Morrison asked. Something more valuable than crystal cities? Thackeroni's eyes got interested. What could weak peacekeepers possibly offer the mighty Krex? Morrison smiled, but his eyes stayed cold like winter ice. We could offer you a demonstration of human peacekeeping methods. What does that mean? Thackeron demanded. It means we're going to show you what happens when you pick on innocent people, Morrison replied. Consider this your official warning. You have 1 hour to withdraw your forces from Zenthari space. The Kadone's ugly laugh got louder. 1 hour? You think you can threaten the Krex Empire? I have 50 ships. You have 1 tiny vessel. My warriors will capture you and make you watch as we destroy every crystal building on this world. Commander? Thackeron, Morrison said, in a voice that could have frozen fire. You just made a very big mistake. What mistake? Thackeron sneered. You threatened innocent people in front of humans, Morrison replied. We really don't like that. Before Thackeron could answer, Morrison cut the transmission. The bridge fell. Quiet for a moment. Well, Harper said finally. I don't think he wants to negotiate. Some people only understand one kind of negotiation, Rodriguez added. Checking his weapon again, Dr. Collins was still angry about what Thackeron had said about the Zenthari. How can anyone be so cruel? The Zenthari are the gentlest beings I've ever heard of. Morrison was already planning their next move? That's exactly why we're going to stop this. Get me another channel to Elder Zixmore. The crystal being appeared on screen again. He looked hopeful. Did you speak with the Krex commander? Will he listen to reason? Morrison chose his words carefully. Elder Zixmore, Commander Thackeron is not interested in peaceful solutions? We're going to have to use more direct methods to protect your people. Elder Zixmore looked confused. More direct methods? But you are peacekeepers. Surely you mean more intensive diplomatic talks. Like that, Morrison said. I need you to get your people into the safest places possible. Underground, if you have anywhere like that, it's going to get loud. Loud? Elder Zixmore asked. I do not understand. Dr. Collins leaned into view. Elder, human peacekeeping sometimes involves stopping bad people by force. We're going to make the Krex leave your world alone. Elder Zixmore's crystal body began to glow with what looked like panic. Force? You mean violence? But violence is wrong. It only creates more violence. Not always, Morrison said gently. Sometimes violence stops violence. Sometimes good people have to fight to protect others who cannot protect themselves. But the Galactic Peacekeeping Council said you were negotiators, Elder Zixmore said. We are, Rodriguez called from his station. We're just really good at winning negotiations. Morrison turned to his crew. All right, people, let's go keep some peace. The shuttle bay doors of the UCS Valiant opened with a soft hiss. Captain Morrison walked down the ramp wearing full combat armor that was black as space and twice as deadly. His helmet display showed him everything he needed to know about the battlefield below. Lieutenant Harper followed behind him, her sniper rifle slung across her back and her eyes scanning for threats. Sergeant Rodriguez came next, carrying what he cheerfully called his diplomatic equipment. The heavy weapons pack on his back contained enough explosives to level a city block. Dr. Collins brought up the rear with her medical kit, though she also carried a sidearm and knew how to use it. Remember, Morrison said over the comm system, we're here to keep the peace. The Zenthari are innocent civilians caught in the middle. The Krex are hostile invaders. Our job is to make sure the right people go home safe. Copy that, Captain. Harper replied, settling into a sniper position on top of a crystal building. I can see Krex patrols moving through the city. They're not being gentle with the locals. Morrison looked through his helmet scope and saw what she meant. Krex soldiers were dragging Zenthari people out of their homes. The crystal beings' bodies were cracking under the rough handling. Some were already broken, their light growing dim as they lay in the streets. That stops now, Morrison said. Dr. Collins was kneeling beside a wounded Zenthari who had tried to hide behind a fountain. The being's arm was shattered, pieces of crystal scattered on the ground. This is terrible, she said. These people are so fragile. The Krex are treating them like things, not living beings. A group of Zenthari children had gathered around Dr. Collins. They were small and delicate, like living gemstones that caught the sunlight. Their big eyes were full of fear as they watched the human soldiers. Elder Zixmore approached the human team. His crystal body was cracked in more places now, and he moved carefully. "I still do not understand," he said to Morrison. "How will weapons bring peace?" "By removing the people who are disturbing the peace," Morrison replied simply. "Your world was peaceful before the Krex came, right?" "Yes, but violence only creates more violence," Elder Zixmore insisted. "This is what all civilized beings know." Rodriguez looked up from where he was setting up his equipment. "With respect, sir, sometimes the only way to stop violence is with superior violence. These Krex guys aren't going to leave because we asked them nicely." Just then, a Krex patrol came around the corner. 3 soldiers in black armor saw the humans and laughed. They were twice as big as any human, with thick gray skin and muscles that looked like steel cables. Their weapons were crude but powerful. One of the Krex said in a voice like grinding stone. "More weak aliens come to surrender." "Hey, Rodriguez," Harper called from her sniper position. "I think these gentlemen want to have a diplomatic discussion with us." "I see them," Rodriguez replied, shouldering his weapon. "Looks like it's time for some aggressive negotiations." The lead Krex soldier pointed his weapon at Elder Zixmore. "All aliens will come with us. You will work in the mines until you die." Morrison stepped between the Krex and the Zenthari. "Afraid we can't allow that," the Krex soldier laughed. "You cannot stop us, little human. We are Krex warriors. We fear nothing." "That's your first mistake," Morrison said calmly. Harper's rifle spoke from the rooftop. The sound was sharp and clean, like breaking glass. The lead Krex soldier looked down in surprise at the hole that had appeared in his chest armor. He fell backward with a crash that shook the crystal buildings. The other 2 Krex soldiers raised their weapons, but Rodriguez was faster. His assault rifle chattered for exactly 2 seconds. When the noise stopped, both Krex soldiers were on the ground. Elder Zixmore stared at the human soldiers with his mouth open. The Zenthari children had hidden behind Dr. Collins, who was calmly checking her medical equipment. "You killed them," Elder Zixmore whispered. "We defended you," Morrison corrected. "They were going to hurt your people. Now they can't. But they are dead. Gone forever." "How is this different from what they were doing to us?" Dr. Collins looked up from her medical kit. "Elder, they came to your world to hurt innocent people. We came to your world to protect innocent people. That's the difference." Harper's voice came over the comm. "Captain, I've got more Krex moving this way. Looks like about 20 soldiers, 2 vehicles." They heard the shooting. "Copy that, Morrison," replied Rodriguez. "You ready for a larger diplomatic meeting?" "Always ready to negotiate, sir," Rodriguez grinned, pulling out a grenade launcher that he had painted with the words "Peace Talks" on the side. The Zenthari children were still watching the humans with wide eyes. One of them, a small being that sparkled like a diamond, tugged on Dr. Collins' armor. "Are you here to hurt the bad people?" the child asked, in a voice like tiny bells. Dr. Collins knelt down to the child's level. "We're here to make sure the bad people can't hurt you anymore. Will you hurt us too?" another child asked. "Never," Morrison said firmly. "We only fight bad people who hurt innocent folks. You're the good guys. We're here to protect you." Elder Zixmore was still struggling to understand. "But in our philosophy, all violence is wrong. Even violence to stop violence. Your philosophy is beautiful," Dr. Collins said gently. "It works great when everyone follows it. But when someone like the Krex shows up, you need people who are willing to get their hands dirty to protect those who can't protect themselves." The sound of heavy engines filled the air. 2 Krex armored vehicles rounded the corner, their guns pointing at the humans. Behind them came 20 Krex soldiers in full battle gear. "Humans," the lead Krex called out through a speaker. "You have killed our warriors. For this, you will die slowly." Rodriguez looked at his grenade launcher and then at the vehicles. "Captain, permission to open diplomatic channels?" "Granted," Morrison replied. "Make it clear we're here for peaceful negotiations." Grenade launcher made a loud thump sound. The grenade hit the first Krex vehicle, and exploded in a ball of fire and smoke. The vehicle flipped over and crashed into a crystal building. "Diplomatic message sent," Rodriguez reported cheerfully. Harper's rifle began picking off Kreck's soldiers. One by one, each shot was perfect, each target eliminated before they could fire back. "I'm having very productive talks up here," she called down. The remaining Kreck soldiers tried to take cover, but they had not expected to fight people who knew what they were doing. Morrison moved through their position like a ghost, his rifle. Speaking quietly but effectively, in less than 5 minutes, the street was quiet again. Elder Zixmore looked at the destroyed vehicles and the fallen Kreck soldiers. His crystal body was dim with shock. "This is not how I imagined peacekeeping would work." "Different species, different methods," Morrison said, reloading his weapon. "But the result is the same. Your people are safer now than they were 10 minutes ago." Dr. Collins was already moving among the wounded Zenthari, helping those who had been hurt in the fighting. "The important thing is that no more of your people got taken away." A new voice came from behind them. "The humans are right, Elder." They turned to see another Zenthari, this one older and with more cracks in his crystal body. "I am Builder Corwin," he said. "I have lived long enough to see many invasions. The Krecks do not understand mercy or kindness. They only understand strength." "But Builder," Elder Zixmore protested, "violence goes against everything we believe." "Sometimes," Builder Corwin replied sadly, "our beliefs are not enough to protect us from those who do not share them. These humans fight so that we do not have to." Harper's voice crackled over the come again. "Captain, I'm seeing Kreck's reinforcements heading this way. Looks like they're getting serious now. About 50 soldiers and some kind of flying gunship." Morrison checked his ammunition and looked at his team. They were all ready for whatever came next. "Elder Zixmore," he said, "you might want to get your people further underground. This diplomatic session is about to get a lot more intense. Will you be all right?" Elder Zixmore asked, his concern genuine despite his confusion about their methods. Morrison smiled behind his helmet. "Sir, we're human peacekeepers. Keeping the peace is what we do best." Rodriguez was already setting up his heavier weapons. "Besides, we're just getting warmed up. The real negotiations haven't even started yet." In the distance, the sound of Kreck's engines grew louder as more enemy forces approached the Crystal City. The humans checked their weapons and prepared to show the galaxy exactly how effective their style of peacekeeping could be. The Kreck's gunship came over the Crystal City like a metal storm cloud. Its guns were already firing before it cleared the buildings, sending blasts of energy that turned beautiful crystal sculptures into glowing slag. Morrison watched it through his helmet display and felt his anger grow cold and sharp. "Harper, can you handle that flying problem?" he asked over the come. "Give me 30 seconds, Harper replied from her sniper position. She was no longer using her regular rifle. Instead, she had unpacked something that looked like it belonged on a battleship, not in the hands of one person. "I need to have a very serious conversation with that pilot." The railgun made a sound like thunder when it fired. The hypersonic projectile hit the Kreck's gunship in the engine and turned it into a falling fireball. The ship crashed into an empty square, sending up a pillar of black smoke. Conversation concluded, Harper reported. "What?" "The pilot has agreed to stop bothering people." Rodriguez was setting up his heavy equipment behind a crystal fountain. "Incoming ground forces, Captain. 50 Kreck soldiers, plus what looks like a walking tank. They're coming down Main Street like they own the place." Morrison looked at the tactical display in his helmet. The Krecks were advancing in a standard assault formation. They clearly thought they were dealing with another weak species that would run away when faced with superior numbers. "They're about to learn something about human mathematics," Morrison said. "What's that, sir?" Dr. Collins asked, as she helped more wounded Zenthari to safety. "When you mess with innocent people, one human is worth about 50% of anything else," Morrison replied. Elder Zixmore was watching from a safe distance, his crystal body dim with worry. "There are so many of them. How can 4 humans fight 50 Krek's warriors?" Builder Corwin stood beside him, his old eyes reflecting the light from the burning gunship. "Watch and learn. Elder, these humans are not like us. They're predators, who have chosen to hunt evil instead of prey. The first wave of Krek's soldiers rounded the corner and immediately ran into Rodriguez's warm welcome. His machine gun spoke with a voice like ripping metal, cutting down the front ranks before they knew what hit them. The ones behind tried to take cover, but Harper was picking them off from above with shots that never missed. "This is not possible," the Krek squad leader shouted into his radio.
Ow.
"They are only for beings. How are they killing so many of us?"
Al Morrison
Was moving through the Krek's position like death itself. His rifle found targets with mechanical precision. When it ran empty, he switched to his sidearm without breaking stride. When that ran empty, he drew a combat knife that had been sharpened to cut through armor. The Krek's walking tank came around the corner, its massive guns swiveling toward the humans. It was as big as a house and covered in thick armor plates. Crew was confident that nothing could stop them. Rodriguez smiled and pulled out what he called his tank negotiator. The rocket launcher was almost as big as he was, but he handled it like a toy. "Hey, tank crew," he called out. "Let's talk about your extended warranty." The rocket hit the walking tank right in its ammunition storage. The explosion was so big that windows broke in buildings 3 blocks away. When the smoke cleared, there was nothing left but a crater and some very confused-looking pieces of metal. "Warranty expired," Rodriguez announced cheerfully. The remaining Krek soldiers looked at each other and began to back away. They had come to fight weak crystal beings, not these terrifying humans who treated war like a casual conversation. "Fall back," the squad leader ordered. "Retreat to the main base. We need reinforcements." "I don't think so," Morrison said, appearing behind them like a ghost. The squad leader turned around just in time to see the human's rifle pointed at his face. "We're having such a nice, peaceful discussion. It would be rude to leave now."
Doctor
Collins was moving among the battlefield, but not to help the Kreks. She was making sure they stayed down permanently. Her medical training meant she knew exactly where to check for signs of life, and her combat training meant she knew what to do if she found any.
All clear, Captain,
she reported. "The diplomatic session has concluded successfully." Harper climbed down from her sniper position, her rifle still smoking from the heat of rapid fire. That was refreshing. Was starting to think these Kreks didn't want to have reasonable discussions. Elder Zixmore came out of hiding, stepping carefully around the destroyed Krek's equipment. His crystal body was brighter now, as if hope was returning. "To him, you did it. You stopped them." "This was just the opening negotiation," Morrison said, checking his ammunition. "The real talks are about to begin." "What do you mean?" Elder Zixmore asked. Rodriguez pointed up at the sky where the Krek's warships still hung in orbit. "We need to have a chat with Commander Thackerone, face to face." "But he's on his flagship," Builder Corwin said. "How will you reach him?" Morrison looked at his team and smiled. "We're going to accept his invitation to visit." Dr. Collins was scanning the battlefield with her medical equipment, but she was not looking for wounded. "I'm reading Krek's biology," she explained, "learning about their weak spots. Knowledge is power in negotiations." "Find anything interesting?" Harper asked. "Their armor has gaps at the joints, their helmet vision is limited, and their reaction time is about 30% slower than ours," Dr. Collins reported. "Also, they have a redundant heart system, so we need to make sure we hit both to guarantee results." Elder Zixmore was still trying to understand human peacekeeping methods. "But how will you get to their ship?" "It's in space. We have our shuttle," Morrison said. "Plus, some modifications Rodriguez made to it. I may have added some extra diplomatic equipment to our ride. It's nothing fancy, just some weapons that aren't supposed to exist, and shield generators borrowed from a few different species." "You stole technology from other aliens?" Elder Zixmore asked, shocked. "We prefer to think of it as involuntary technology sharing," Harper said, "for the greater good." A new hologram appeared in front of them. It was Commander Thackerone, and he looked angrier than before. His ugly face was twisted with rage, and his small eyes burned with hatred. "Humans," he snarled, "you have killed my warriors. You have destroyed my equipment. You think you are clever, but you are still only 4 against thousands."
Morrison
Look directly at the hologram. "Commander Thackerone, this is your final warning. Withdraw your forces from Zenthari space immediately." Zakharon laughed, but it sounded forced now. "Cannot threaten me, little human. I will send down my entire army. I'll turn this crystal city into dust." "That would be a mistake," Morrison said calmly, "because then we'd have to come up there and explain to you personally why that's not acceptable. You come here." Thackerone looked confused. How would 4 beings attack a ship with 10,000 warriors? Rodriguez held up a device that looked like a simple communicator. "Commander, meet my little friend. This is a quantum beacon. On push of this button. And every human warship within 50 light years gets our exact coordinates and a full report of what you've been doing to innocent people." The Thackerone's face went pale. "You're bluffing. Humans are new to space. You cannot have warships. Want to bet?" Morrison asked. "The thing about humans, Commander, is that we really don't like bullies. And when we don't like someone, we tend to make it everyone's problem." Dr. Collins stepped forward, her medical scanner still in her hand. "Commander, I've been studying your species biology. Did you know that Krex warriors have a life expectancy of about 6 hours when fighting humans in close combat? It's fascinating from a medical perspective." "Impossible," Thackerone snorted. "Krex warriors are the finest fighters in the galaxy." "The finest fighters," Harper corrected, past tense. "Your boys down here learned about human marksmanship the hard way." Rodriguez was still grinning as he checked his remaining explosives. "Plus, Commander, we haven't even started trying yet. This was just us being polite. If we get impolite, things could get really interesting." Thackerone was starting to look less confident. "You are only for beings. Even if you are skilled, you cannot defeat my entire fleet," Commander Morrison said in a voice that could freeze fire. "We're not going to defeat your entire fleet. We're going to do something much worse." "What could be worse than defeat?" Thackerone demanded. Morrison's smile was cold as winter space. "We're going to make an example of you. When we're done, every species in the galaxy will know what happens when you pick on innocent people in front of humans. Your name will become a cautionary tale that parents tell their children." The Carinus transmission cut off abruptly. Elder Zixmore looked at the human team with something like, "You really think you can defeat an entire space fleet with just for people?" Morrison checked his weapon one more time and looked up at the enemy ships hanging in orbit like dark promises of destruction. "Elder," he said quietly, "there's something you need to understand about humans. We're really good at making the impossible look easy." Rodriguez laughed as he packed his remaining explosives. "For humans against 10,000 Krex isn't a fair fight." "You're right," Harper agreed, shouldering her rifle. "Should probably ask them to surrender now while they still can." The human team prepared for their next diplomatic mission, while above them, Commander Thackerone tried to figure out why he suddenly felt like prey instead of predator. The human shuttle rose from the Crystal City like an angry wasp, heading toward a nest of hornets. Morrison sat in the pilot seat, his hands steady on the controls as 50 Krex warships grew larger in the view screen. Behind him, his team was making final preparations for what Rodriguez cheerfully called the ultimate diplomatic meeting. "All systems green," Harper reported from the weapons station. "The modifications Rodriguez made are working perfectly. We've got more firepower than ships 10 times our size, and more armor than we have any right to carry," Dr. Collins added, checking the shield generators. "I'm reading power levels that should be impossible for a shuttle this size." Rodriguez was humming happily as he armed the special packages he had placed throughout their little ship. "If this goes bad, we're going to make the biggest diplomatic statement in galactic history. They'll see the explosion from 3 star systems away." The cum system crackled to life. Commander Thackerone's ugly face appeared on their screen, and he looked confused and angry. "Foolish humans. You fly one tiny ship against my entire fleet. Do you think this is some kind of joke?" "No joke, Commander," Morrison replied calmly. "This is a very serious peace negotiation. Coming aboard your ship to discuss terms." "Terms," the car laughed, but it sounded nervous now. "You are in no position to demand anything. Surrender now and I will kill you quickly instead of slowly." "That's not very diplomatic," Harper said, targeting the Krex flagship's weapon systems. "Maybe we should teach him some manners." The first Krex ships opened fire, sending streams of energy blasts toward the human shuttle. Their weapons were designed to vaporize enemy vessels in seconds. But the little human ship danced between the shots like it was playing a game. Evasive maneuvers look good, Morrison said, spinning the shuttle through a series of moves that should have been impossible. Rodriguez, your engine modifications are working great. Thanks, Captain. I borrowed some technology from about 6 different species and mixed them together. The result violates several laws of physics, but it works great. Dr. Collins was monitoring their approach to the flagship. Crek's biological readings are showing increased stress levels, heart rates are elevated. I think they're starting to get worried. They should be, Morrison said. Harper, show them what human diplomacy looks like. Harper's fingers danced over her weapons controls. The shuttle's guns spoke with voices like thunder, and 6 Krek ships disappeared in balls of fire. The remaining ships tried to close in, but the little human vessel was too fast and too deadly. Possible. Thackerone screamed over the cum. Your ship is too small to carry weapons that powerful. Size doesn't matter when you know what you're doing, Rodriguez replied. It's all about proper application of explosive diplomacy. The human shuttle carved through the Krek's fleet like a sword through paper. Every shot from Harper found its target. Every move from Morrison kept them out of enemy fire. In 10 minutes, 30 Krek's warships were burning in space. Commander Thackeron, Morrison said over the cum, this is your last chance. Surrender. Now, or we'll have to get creative. Never, Thackeron roared. I am Krex. We do not surrender to anyone, especially not to weak aliens. Wrong answer, Morrison said. He looked back at his team. All right, people, time for Plan B. What's Plan B? Dr. Collins asked. Rodriguez grinned and held up a device that looked like a simple remote control. Plan B is we go aboard their ship and explain human peacekeeping methods in person. The human shuttle slammed into the Krek's flagship's docking bay like a meteor. The impact sent shockwaves through the massive ship. Emergency alarms began screaming throughout the vessel. Morrison and his team stepped out of their shuttle wearing full combat armor and carrying enough weapons to fight a small war. The Krek soldiers waiting for them in the docking bay took one look at the humans and began backing away. Remember, Morrison said to his team, we're here to negotiate peace. Try to be diplomatic, of course, Captain Harper replied, shouldering her rifle. I'll be very polite when I explain why picking on innocent people is wrong. The first group of Krek's soldiers charged at the humans, screaming war cries and firing their weapons. They expected the invaders to be overwhelmed by their numbers and ferocity. Instead, they ran into something they had never encountered before. Human. Soldiers who had trained their entire lives for moments exactly like this one. Harper's rifle spoke in short, controlled bursts. Each shot found its target with mechanical precision. Rodriguez's heavy weapons turned Krek's battle formations into scrap metal. Dr. Collins moved through the chaos like a ghost, her medical knowledge helping her find the most efficient ways to stop Krek's warriors permanently. Morrison led the advance toward the bridge, his rifle cutting down enemies while his tactical display showed him exactly where to go. The Kreks tried to stop them with blast doors, but Rodriguez had brought door openers that used high explosives to knock. Knock, knock, Rodriguez called out cheerfully as another blast door disappeared in a cloud of smoke and fire. The bridge of the Krek's flagship was huge and dark, filled with weapon controls and tactical displays. Commander Thackerone stood in the center, surrounded by his officers. He was even bigger in person, standing almost 9 feet tall in powered armor that made him look like a walking tank. So, Thackerone growled, the little humans have come to die. On my bridge? Good. I will enjoy killing you slowly, Commander, Morrison said, walking forward with his rifle ready. You have one last chance to surrender. Order your remaining ships to leave Xanthari space immediately. I am Krex, Thackerone roared. I do not surrender to anyone. Your choice, Morrison replied. The fight that followed was brief but violent. The Karen was strong and fast, his powered armor giving him strength that could crush steel. His officers were skilled warriors who had conquered dozens of worlds, but they were fighting humans who had learned warfare on a planet where everything tried to kill them. Dr. Collins hit Thackerone with a dart filled with enough sedative to drop. A rhinoceros. Harper put precision shots through the gaps in Krek's officer armor. Rodriguez used shape charges to turn the bridge's weapon systems into expensive scrap metal. Morrison faced The Charon in single combat using zero-gravity fighting techniques learned from asteroid mining wars. Krek's commander was bigger and stronger, but Morrison was faster and smarter. When Thacaron finally fell, his armor smoking from multiple hits, the bridge fell silent. "It's over," Morrison said, standing over the defeated commander. "Order your ships to withdraw." The Charon looked up at the human soldier with eyes full of confusion and fear. How did 4 beings defeat my entire army?" "'Cause," Dr. Collins said, checking to make sure he was still alive, "you picked on innocent people, and humans really don't like that." Harper was already at the ship's communication system. "All Krek's vessels, this is the human peacekeeping force. Your commander has been defeated. You have 10 minutes to leave this system, or you'll be joining him." The remaining Krek ships did not wait 10 minutes. They jumped to hyperspace so fast they left scorch marks in space. 3 hours later, the human team stood in the Crystal City of the Zenthari, surrounded by grateful aliens whose bodies glowed with happiness. Elder Zixmore's crystal form was brighter than anyone had seen it in years. "I still do not understand your methods," Elder Zixmore said to Morrison, "but I cannot argue with your results. My people are safe. Our world is free. It's all that matters," Morrison replied. "Sometimes peace requires people willing to fight for it." Builder Corwin stepped forward, his old crystal body reflecting the light of the setting suns. "The galaxy will remember this day. Word will spread that humans protect the innocent and punish the guilty." Rodriguez was packing up his remaining explosives, humming a cheerful tune. "Just doing our job, sir. Keeping the peace is what we do best." Dr. Collins was treating the last of the wounded Zenthari, her gentle hands healing crystal bodies that had been broken by Krek's violence. "Your people will be safe now. The bullies won't be coming back." Harper was cleaning her rifle, making sure it was ready for the next mission. "Any other species causing problems in this sector?" Elder Zixmore looked up at the stars where the Krek's fleet had been just hours before. "There are rumors of pirates near the Vega system, and slavers operating around Wolf 359. Morrison checked his ammunition and looked at his team. They were already preparing for their next peacekeeping mission. "Sounds like there's more diplomatic work to be done," he said with a smile that was both kind and dangerous. As the UCS Valiant prepared to leave Zenthari space, word of the human victory was already spreading across the galaxy. Other species were learning a new truth. When innocent people called for help and humans answered, peace would follow. It might not be the kind of peace everyone expected, but it would be the kind of peace that lasted.